r/AskReddit. What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? Here's my favorite self-burn. In high school math class, a nice, nerdy guy named Richard, a jerk whose name I forget, let's call him Jerk. Jerk keeps calling Richard Dick. Like, hey, Dick, did you get the answer to #4? Richard keeps calmly saying it's Richard. Finally the teacher says, Richard, what do you prefer to be called? Richard says, I prefer Richard. Jerk says, well, I prefer Dick. After a few seconds of uproarious laughter from the rest of the class, Jerk realized what he said and sunk as far down in his seat as possible and never bugged Richard again. We were teenagers in the 80s, so this was the height of hilarity. It's been told that former French President Jacques Chirac once made the following comeback, which is legendary in France. Some dude yelled at him, cornered. It means asshole, roughly. And he answered, pleased to meet you, I'm Jacques Chirac. My sister, when she was 13, maybe 12, she was fighting with my little brother, 3 years older than her, and he was being aggressive and mean, and she clearly yells, I'd call you a dick, but you're so fake, you're a dildo. My mom and I were in the kitchen and my mom yells at her, go to your room. My sister goes upstairs and my mom has tears in her eyes, choking back laughter. Where did she learn that? I told everyone I knew at the time. I called it the sickest burn of all time. It's still so beautiful. My former friend was 12 years my senior, and she fancied herself pretty heavily. She was okay, but I doubt anyone was losing sleep over her. Dressed way too young, trying to hold on to her youth. One day she pointed out that I was overweight and dumpy looking next to her. I'd finally had enough. She made these comments often, and I said, well, what about you? Excuse me? She snapped, I have the body of a 22-year-old. Well, give it back, you're stretching it out. This wasn't an insult personally, but it was a comeback on behalf of a nation. My father is Irish, and he used to work in California. One day a particularly condescending colleague complimented my dad's work by saying back, quote, I never thought I'd get to meet an intelligent Irishman. To which my dad replied back, quote, hopefully someday I'll be as fortunate with Americans, which went completely over his colleague's head. Today in one of my classes we were working on a project about careers, and one of the kids shouted, I want to be a male stripper. The teacher responded, I think you might be missing some of the qualifications for that job. Edit, the student was male. A friend of mine in first year university had never really dated any girls yet. This dumb meathead that we were kind of friends with told him, when you do get a girlfriend, I'm totally going to fuck her. He responded, if I had a girlfriend, that would fuck you. Her cheating on me wouldn't be the issue. Alright, so it goes like this. I had a bully in high school who was tiny, like under 5 foot. I was 6 feet 3 inches at the time, so he would always pick on me, throw stuff at my head, push me around, stuff like that. I never fought back cause I hate violence. Anyway, one day we were in a class together and the class went on lockdown. It wasn't a drill, but we were told the campus wasn't in danger. So jokingly I said, I know why we are locked down. Maybe the zombie apocalypse started. The bully immediately replies, you dumbass, zombies aren't real. I shot back, yeah, well, we didn't think hobbits were real, but you're standing here, aren't you? He lunged at me and got in trouble. My dear grandmother. She had a quick and savage wit. My fiance and I held a meet the whole family get together at my house. It was the first time his father met my grandmother. His dad was a large, physically intimidating man with a beer gut. He began telling stories to my grandmother about how my fiance was a mischief maker when he was young. Then told my grandmother how he would take off his belt and whip Joe for being bad. My frail little grandmother stares directly at my hubby's dad's tummy and says, your belt. However could you find it? Future father-in-law was gobsmacked. Not quite an insult, but I still think of this comeback to this day. I have 2 little brothers, and it was my dad's birthday, so the semi-extended family were all at a restaurant to celebrate. I had just graduated from my dad's alma mater, and my middle brother was currently a junior there. My youngest brother, a freshman, however, opted to go to state school. At one point my uncle said, so, youngest brother, how does your dad feel about you breaking the trend of our last name, men going to alma mater? My little bro thought for a moment and then said, well, he probably doesn't mind considering I also broke the trend of not being able to get higher than a 3.0. The table exploded, and my other brother and I just stared at each other across the table like holy fuck, did we just get brutally murderer. It's especially funny because my little bro was one of those shy high school kids who went off to college and came back fun and socially confident. I was hoping that development would happen. I just never expected it to stab me in the fucking face. When I was in middle school many years ago, a bully was teasing an awkward kid about not being able to get girls and being gay and never being able to get laid. Another bully spoke up to the first bully and said, bitch, you ain't had pussy since pussy had you, and the entire class and the teacher started laughing. The original bully shut up. Update: teacher didn't start belly laughing with everyone in the middle of the class. This occurred between classes as students were coming in. Teacher definitely heard, definitely smiled, and stifled his laugh. Ike, he said, knock it off boys, time for class to begin. Nobody clapped. No principal came in and clapped. This happened 30 years ago. Bully 1 is a police officer now. Bully 2 is a semi-truck driver. Awkward kid is a mechanical engineer. Sitting in a bar at 3 AM off of Bourbon Street. The windows are just open shutters. Dude who just left the bar leans in on our table to shout at some friends still in the bar. One of our group makes a silly / snide comment. Dude leaning in smacks the table with an open palm and says, everybody who ever loved you was wrong. Then he walks away without looking back. We still revel in that story. Edit: it was Harry's Corner at Charters and Umain. Also, for those of you saying how cruel this was, it was all said in the good-natured camaraderie that can only be accomplished by drunks at 3 AM. We took it as a great insult in good fun, and all of us, including the insultee, just howled with laughter. Edit 2, my first precious metal. Thanks. Just out of curiosity as to how good this actually was, for years, I was told that my sort of comeback was the best thing that anybody had ever heard, mostly because I was the quiet kid that nobody could get a rise out of. Naturally, because they couldn't get a rise out of me, everybody tried to get me flustered by insulting me or framing me for things that no teacher ever believed, because it was never the quiet kid. Essentially, I walked into class one day and the teacher wasn't there, but this other girl, S, was up at the whiteboard writing out a long running joke about our teacher that pissed him off. It was about his assigned teacher number, and 2 years of developing a joke is a bit hard to explain. It became a bit of an inside joke. Either way, I sat down, she finished, and the teacher came in, noticing what was written on the board. He asked who did it, and immediately, this girl and a few of the girls around her said, Severin did it. Note, we were about 15 at the time, so they should have been beyond this. I don't know what it was, but something made me wordlessly walk up to the board, fix her spelling and punctuation errors, and then sit down. Only when I had sat down did I turn to the girl who'd done it to say, I have standards. The class collectively lost their shit, including the girls who hadn't seen it coming, and the teacher laughed so hard he went red in the face and cried. To me, it seems like they just found it so funny, because it was me, because I don't see anything particularly special or savage about it. Was once criticized by an older family member for having a straight tooth. That gave me a bit of a craggy smile as an adolescent. It has settled in nicely. I was raised to not criticize what people can't help and to give compliments where possible, and so I did just that. Sorta. Aunt, nice crocodile smile. Me, oh, thanks. Aunt, it's just that tooth, you know, makes your smile all crooked, but it's not that bad. You could get it fixed. Me, I suppose, but I know I'll never have teeth as nice as yours are. They are like stars. Aunt, like stars? You mean as in bright? Me, no, as in they come out at night. My uncle had given me a book called 1001 Insults for Every Occasion a while earlier, and that gem was in it. ETA-or shucks, not used to such attention. I'm thrilled so many enjoyed this little anecdote. My family is rich in them, so I suppose I'll post more in the future as warranted. Thank you for my first gold, kind stranger, and the silver. I see you too. I'll strive to be generous. 4th grade and I was obsessed with mirrors. My mom knew this and let me take her little compact mirror she used to apply lipstick to school with me. A bully on the playground approached me with his friends because they wanted to use the ball I was playing with. He told me to give him the ball. I said no. He said I was ugly and all of his friends did the whole oh sound. So, I asked him what was uglier than ugly. He said what? I opened the mirror and showed him his reflection, and he stood there not knowing what to say. One of his friends got the joke and started cracking up, and one by one everyone else understood until everyone was laughing. The bully didn't understand it, and 2 or 3 of his friends all explained it to him. To this day I've never seen somebody's face turn as red as his did. He never bothered me again, and his friends became my friends. I'd love it if you liked and subscribed.